Home and Away Spoilers Irene's drunken interview gets her in trouble. This week on Home and Away in Australia, as Irene continues to turn to alcohol to numb her guilt, a drunken interview with the Coastal News looks set to get her into trouble. Irene continues to cause concern for her loved ones this week, as she faces her latest battle against the drink. After 9 years of sobriety, Irene fell off the wagon last week, in the wake of the reveal that new friend Bronte had been scamming her and the wider community into thinking she was dying. Although none of her friends blame Irene for Bronte's actions, Irene feels guilty for not protecting them from the con woman. She felt particularly bad for lodger Dana, who had tried several times to warn Irene, only for Irene to shut her down every time. It was Dana being taken by Bronte and her co-conspirator Chase that led to them being caught, and Bronte dug the knife in further by calling Irene a stupid old woman during their final encounter at the police station. The fact that Dana's boyfriend Xander also hadn't believed her theory led to Dana dumping him following her rescue, which only compounded Irene's guilt. After bringing home a bottle of whiskey last week, Irene desperately called a helpline hoping they would be able to stop her falling off the wagon. After 3 talks with them, and a long walk along the beach, Irene managed to resist. However, when a well-meaning John called around the following morning, putting his foot in it by telling that Xander was the one suffering at the moment, she asked him to leave and she finally succumbed to the bottle. Leah and Marilyn noticed Irene was a bit out of sorts when she eventually showed up for work, making numerous sarcastic comments towards them. But it was a later outburst at Dana, who she called pathetic for always playing the victim and punishing Xander, that caused real concern. Irene soon realized her mistake as John went to check on her, and as she promised to apologize to Dana, he reminded her that he was only a phone call away. "You're too nice to me, John," Irene responded. "I don't deserve it." "Yes you do," he replied. When Irene went home, she learnt that Dana had dumped Xander properly, commenting that Irene had been right and that when there's something toxic in your life, you need to remove it. Irene took Dana's words on board and later poured the rest of her whiskey down the sink. When Xander and Dana later got back together following his surfing accident, Irene was somewhat nonchalant about the news, much to the surprise of Leah and Marilyn. As the pair wondered how Irene could find a positive in the whole situation, Leah suggested that they talk to local rag the Coastal News and tell their side of the story. Irene was clearly struggling as she hovered over the helpline number on her phone, but when Leah told her about the plan, and that a reporter would be there the next morning so that they could warn others about such scams, Irene reluctantly agreed to the interview. Out of sight, Irene was clearly terrified of the idea, and the next morning she returned to work and told Leah that she wouldn't be taking part, stating she has a lot on her plate. "Irene, the interview is already organized," Leah pleaded. "You're free to talk to the journo yourself, Leah," Irene bluntly replied. "But you'll be doing it on your own." This week, as reported in TV Week, Irene feels that she's faced enough humiliation over the whole affair, and doesn't agree that it will be the cathartic experience that Leah suggests. When she has another talk with John, Irene agrees to go home and at least think about it. But when Irene heads back to the beach house, she has sourced another bottle, and does her thinking over a drink or two. Irene later returns to the diner looking a little more disheveled yet a bit more cheery than she was previously, and after agreeing to do the interview after all, it doesn't take long for Leah to realize that Irene is inebriated. "It's really sad for Leah," Ada told TV Week. "She's seen Irene like this before and is heartbroken, as she's a close friend and she doesn't want her suffering. It's too late to back out now though, with reporter Fleur already on the scene, and Leah is soon regretting the idea." Leah can only watch on as Irene blunders her way through the interview, making a complete mess of it. Leah begs Fleur not to run the story, but with an eager Fleur keen to get her first big front-page scoop, she doesn't seem in any hurry to quash it. Has Irene just opened herself up to even more humiliation?
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Home and Away Spoilers Today. Xin chào.